Woodrow Wilson was very strong on the right of a people to govern itself. We don't believe that Kosovo. Am I pronouncing that right?
Well, by the way, Wilson is one of the main people responsible for this mess, if you ask me.
Yeah.
Because in the name of self-determination, he drew, how should I put it, goofy boundaries.
I was going to make that
leaving
point, yeah.
Greeks in Albania and Hungarians in Romania, and now we're cleaning up this debris after a century of fascism and communism. But on the pronunciation of the
word.
area, let's get right to it. The way you pronounce it immediately defines which side you're on. You have pronounced it the Albanian way, so we can assume you're an Albanian separatist.
I am.
The official, hey, this time your viewers knew who you really were. The international way is Kosovo. Yeah, it's Kosovo, and
yeah.
Kosovo or Kosova takes the Albanian position. So right away, language matters. I have an incident in my book which illustrated it, and it was about the translation booths at Dayton. On the dial that we all have on the translation booths, like at the UN, it said 1 English, 2 French, 3 Russian, 5 Bosnian, 6 Croatian, 4 Bosnian, 5 Serbian, 6 Croatian. So I looked at this and I said, well, we were all taught that that's one language. You all speak to each other in one language. And they said, yes, but we're all developing our own language now. So I turned on the dial and I looked over to the booths. And there was the French translator, and there was the Russian translator, and there was one woman. And then you dialed 4, 5, or 6 for Bosnian, Croatian, or Serbian. It was the same woman. So you could just choose which channel to receive the same translation on. I thought it was tragic. Language, which had once united the region, was now being used by demagogues and racists, and that's what ethnicity is about, to divide people.
Yeah, last week Algeria is making French illegal. You may have noticed. In any case, we have a situation in which people are, as I understand the way you framed it, pleading certain abstractions. If the right of self-government were absolute, then we'd go back 300 years when there were 500 political entities. What are they in the United Nations now? 180 or so. So while simultaneously one wants to discourage Kosovo from simply asserting independence as an international right that we're obliged to endorse, we have to do what we can to encourage policies that protect them from repression, without insisting that they have their own flag.
Yeah.
Now,
you know, there's somewhere between 2,000 and 3,000 ethnicities in the world, depending how you define them. 180 nations in the UN. Can every ethnicity have its own nation? In Africa especially, but also in places like Indonesia and India, it would create absolute chaos. Wars would start everywhere. And above all, ethnicities are not geographically cohesive. Every minority is a majority somewhere and a minority somewhere else.
As they found out in
And every
Rwanda,
ethnicity has got enclaves within other ethnicities. The world cannot be based on ethnically pure countries.
So we're always in search of the Swiss solution, aren't we? Only Switzerland's unique.
Well, I think India. So India, Indonesia, there are other countries with equally vast ethnicities that have held together. The Soviet Union broke up, but that was an empire held together by coerciveness. But how many countries are ethnically pure in the world? At the most, 1 or 2 East Asian countries come close to it, but nothing in Europe. Europe thinks of itself as ethnically based countries, but are they really? Even France, is it really? The United Kingdom, Great Britain, certainly not. Welsh, Scotch, Irish, English. The world has to live together.
So we have to slow down on the Wilsonian imperative, which was also reiterated in the United Nations human rights.
It depends on what you mean by self-determination. And minority rights are an important fact in our country and in Europe. but they're defined very differently in Europe. Something most Americans don't realize is that in the Council of Europe charters, minority group rights are enshrined. That is not something that's accepted in the U.S., or at least not in the same way. A very complicated issue. In a place like Bosnia or Kosovo, you can only bring peace to the region by accepting the fact that ethnic groups do get specific statutory rights. The Dayton Agreement, as recounted in detail in this book, did something which you'd never do in America. It's best illustrated by the presidency in Bosnia. We created a three-person presidency: a Bosnian, a Croat, and a Serb. Now, I said, not jokingly, I said to the people in Dayton, you know, in the U.S. this would be crazy. We have one president, whatever he is, whatever she might be, but you have to have an equally ethnically balanced presidency. And they said, that's right. It's the only way we can have this country hold together. And of course, it weakens the central executive, but it's essential. So it's a whole different concept.